When Sonic Superstars was announced, it was a big day for the Sonic community. The last time we got a 2D side-scroller classic Sonic game, it was Sonic Mania, and that was one of the highest received, highest rated Sonic games of all time. It was really good news in particular because classic Sonic games in general are some of the series' best. They're the most liked, they're the most well-received, and honestly, when Sonic was actually at the pinnacle and peak of gaming, these were the type of games that he was putting out. These were the games that put him on the map. So when Superstars was announced, it's like, wait, they're doing Mania again, just in 3D with like really colorful environments for the first time ever in the series. Couch co-op, like, wow, this is going to be an absolute slam dunk. There's no way this game can fail. And for the record, the game didn't fail. It has a 9 user score on Metacritic and has a 74, which is basically a 7.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10 for user score. Like, this game did not fail. It's safe to say with Sega's marketing strategy, this game is definitely going to sell some units and actually make quite a bit of money. One of the major hurdles that this game faced, though, was just a couple of weeks later after this game was announced, Super Mario Wonder was announced at a Nintendo Direct. And man, did this game impress. I played both games, I beat both games, and I gotta say, there is nothing I could say wrong about Super Mario Wonder. And it seems like the critics have said the same thing. It has universal acclaim on Metacritic based on 94 critic reviews, it has a 93, and the user score is just as strong with a 9.1. If you think about it, Sonic Superstars was Sega's real legitimate shot to actually have a game score similar and be viewed in the same favorable manner that Mario is. 2D classic Sonic games, like I said before, are some of the best in the series. There's no shame in someone saying, like, I like Sonic 3 and Knuckles better than Super Mario World, which, by the way, these games are both legendary, but it's fair to actually compare these games because they're similar in quality. I don't think there's any shame in saying someone prefers a game like Sonic 3 and Knuckles over Super Mario World. And because we were returning to these two styles of gameplay that really worked and were really successful, it was reasonable to have some hype pre-release for Sonic Superstars and maybe say that this could be scored similarly or it could be of similar quality. So what happened? Why is Sonic Superstars, which was supposed to be a slam dunk, not rated as high as Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which is met with universal acclaim? And you know what? Maybe that's not a fair question to ask, but the real question to ask is, why is this game so universally praised, and why is Sonic Superstars a mixed game? Why is this score not like an 8 out of 10 or a 8.5 out of 10? And there are very simple answers to this question, but before we get into it, please subscribe to the channel right now with all notifications and like the video. I'll give you a second. And let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I would love to hear what you have to say about this topic. So when you look at Twitter and you see that Sonic fans are absolutely at each other's throats over this game, a lot of people are having very heated discourse about this. This means that there was an objective issue with the game. And this is coming from someone who, if you watch my review, I scored the game at an 8 out of 10. So this is someone who likes Superstars. And let's not make any mistake here. Superstars is a fun game. But when people are at each other's throats about Sonic Superstars and the other game, which is, by the way, our peer, our competitor within the same industry, does not have the same problems, obviously something went wrong. The most obvious reason for why Sonic Superstars lost to Super Mario Wonder, and the biggest reason being, is that Nintendo has unlimited bag. Like, these guys got money, man. I wish I had as much money as Nintendo. Maybe if enough of you guys watch the reviews, I'll be the next Nintendo. Nah, I'm just kidding. This is a legitimate problem, not only with Sega, but just the game industry in general. Super Mario Wonder had a very solid development cycle, something that Sonic games in general had not been afforded to in the past. Here's what I mean. So according to this article right here, Super Mario Bros. Wonder development did not have a fixed time period. Nintendo started releasing a series of Super Mario Bros. Wonder interviews with members of its development team. The first installment focuses on how the development started and the concept behind it. It turns out, unlike other Nintendo games, producer Takashi Tezuka said that there was not a fixed time period for development, so there was no crunch with this game, as far as what they're willing to say. I don't know how it goes behind the scenes. And they also developed a new engine for this game. Takashi Tezuka had this to say when talking about the development of the game. He said that we wanted to create a game with much more to offer than ever before. So this time, we didn't set a fixed time period for development, which is usually decided before we kick off. To create something truly enjoyable, we decided to take our time and dedicate ample budget for development without having to worry about the production schedule. So at first, we only had a small group working on the development. So when you think about why Super Mario Bros. Wonder is so polished and the animations look good, there's no glitches, there's no bugs, and this game is just just masterfully crafted, it's because Nintendo afforded their team ample time to create the game, and they also gave them the money that they needed, which has not always been the case for Sonic. Hell, in 2022, Sega had to delay Sonic Frontiers for over a year just to get the quality that they needed, and the game still arguably did not have the polish that it needed. Again, you have to analyze the financials of both companies, Nintendo and Sega, to really get a full picture of why Nintendo was able to afford their dev team the time that they needed, as well as the money. Nintendo as a company is estimated to be worth $52.42 billion. Sega Sammy Holdings, who is the company that owns Sega and in turn owns Sonic, has a market cap worth of $3.4 billion. In terms of market cap, Nintendo is quite literally 14 times larger than Sega, so you have to keep that in mind when you talk about the financials of the game, development time, money, etc. Even when you micro-analyze like the very small details of these games that don't necessarily matter to how fun the gameplay is, such as like the animations and stuff like that, this is why that they are more expressive. There's literally an animation for every single minuscule action in this game, and they just look so good and so expressive. This is because they had ample time and they had ample budget. There was no corners that were cut with this game. Obviously, as you can tell, it's an extremely polished game when you talk about Super Mario Wonder compared to Sonic Superstars. Nintendo even did this with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which, by the way, is probably one of the best games I've ever played. They also delayed this game for a year just to ensure that there's no bugs. In short, Nintendo's able to afford to put all the little extra love and care that the game needs, whereas Sonic maybe does not get that luxury. Make no mistake though, this is not a Sonic exclusive problem. This is a problem widely in the video gaming industry. So you have to understand that the odds were a little bit stacked against Sonic, and Sonic obviously is at an unfair disadvantage when you compare it to Mario. Make no mistake about that. So it's absolutely true that Sonic's at a disadvantage, but also at the same time, a game like Sonic Mania was made with probably a fraction of the budget that Sonic Superstars had, was clearly viewed as a better game, although it's not going to be more successful in terms of financial performance, so keep that in mind. Well, a lot of people will argue that Sonic Superstars is probably a step back from Sonic Mania in terms of polish, gameplay, etc., level design, all that. So while Sonic was at a big disadvantage due to the budget and things of that nature, how was the game made with a fraction of the budget considered better? Maybe both can simultaneously be true. Let me know down below in the comments. I'm not saying one side is correct or the other. I'm just trying to give a fair balanced take as to what happened. Another reason why I feel like Sonic Superstars may have not been as successful, while this is not the only reason, I do feel like there is this inherent bias against Sonic on some fundamental level. I feel like a Sonic game gets analyzed a little bit too hard compared to its peers, and there's like legitimate reasons to prove this. Let's take a look at Sonic Mania, one of the best Sonic games ever. You scroll down some of these reviews, 6 out of 10 review for Sonic Mania. Like, what? This review gives it a 7 out of 10. I'm not even talking about Superstars. I'm talking about Sonic Mania. Yes, that game. Ultimately, all this amounts to hold your trousers, because this will shock you. A genuinely good Sonic the Hedgehog game. Yes, in 2017, that this exists after so many failed attempts is impressive. But the fact that it's really good is a bloody miracle. Okay, all the backhanded compliments aside, they give it a 7 out of 10, saying that the game's actually good. So this reviewer says that the game is good and that it's really good, but yeah, it's just a 7 out of 10. Sonic Frontiers, which is widely regarded as at least a step in the positive direction, Digital Trends gives it a 2 out of 10. PS Extreme, 3 out of 10. There's nothing remotely redeeming about this game. Like, come on, dude. Nothing that even the most diehard loyal Sonic fans would or should advocate for. Like, come on, dude. I hope for one day that someone who cares enough about this franchise can give us something of any substance. I know it sounds like I'm coping as a Sonic fan, and maybe it's not as serious as most people think it is, but I do feel like there is just, at least on some level, some fundamental inherent bias against Sonic. You cannot convince me otherwise. A lot of the criticism that exists for this game is probably by design, in my opinion. When Sonic Superstars is at its best, it really is incredible and truly fun to play. Worst, it can be extremely frustrating and bad. When I'm zooming through Lagoon City at breakneck pace while also maintaining my speed, it is one of the best feelings ever. You get to some of the later levels in the main campaign, and then you're kind of like getting hit by stuff that's off the screen. There's a lot of like pace breaky kind of stuff. You get to the Golden Capital stage, and it's like, oh, more pinball. Like, bro, I'm just trying to go fast, bro. Like, come on, man. Come on, get out. Oh, no. But in general, level design's pretty good. Also, if you get to the final story, you're going to start getting hit by stuff that's not even on the screen like 24/7 with the new character. I'm not going to spoil it, but that can get pretty frustrating. Meanwhile, when I'm playing Super Mario Wonder, I swear, I feel like I could speedrun this game like faster. Like, I feel like I have more like sense of flow and pace when I'm playing this. Like, I don't really have to stop that much. Whereas when I'm playing Sonic Superstars, I feel like there's a bunch of BS that like is thrown in your way to break your pace. But in this game, I could literally maintain full running motion for a much longer time than I can when I'm playing Sonic. Like, it's actually insane. Like, how in a Mario game am I able to maintain my speed and flow better than a Sonic game? Like, bro, this game is like so much more buttery smooth. Like, there's really just like nothing tripping me up. Like, I can just maintain a pace in this game that I can't in Sonic. I thought it was supposed to be the other way around. I don't know. And even when it's not about going fast, which, hey, not every casual player is going to be able to do that, the slower, more platforming based gameplay is better too as well. well as the exploration. Every single level in Super Mario Wonder has a Wonder Seed, which you have to get in order to progress further in the campaign, as well as, 100% the game as well. So exploration actually matters in this game. Like we see this guy right here. So I actually have to slow up and actually go after him, but it gets a lot more intense and more exploration based later on in the game. And then you have like a fun, like crazy, insane mini level on top of the already existing level with an interesting gimmick and stuff like that. Like there's just so much stuff to discover in this game that has a little bit more incentive for exploration. Once you find all the Chaos Emeralds in Sonic, you're not as inclined to explore the levels, although the main appeal of Sonic games, I will say, is to try and find the fastest route of the level. So I'm not really the one that really loves exploring, but I can see why some people would say that this is something that's worse. Despite how much I love Sonic Superstars and everything I like about it, the real meat of the issue that people had with this game, and this is basically like a universal complaint, is how slow and tedious some of the boss battles can be. For example, if you look at this level right here, this boss battle, by the way, takes longer than the actual level. There's many times where you'll be sitting around waiting and waiting and waiting just to be able to attack the boss. Although simultaneously, I will say this game does have some of the most creative bosses that 2D Sonic has ever seen. At the same time, boss battles should not take up this much time because it actively hurts the replayability. Why would I want to replay and do a full run of the game knowing that some of these boss battles will take longer than the levels, which is the part that I actually want to play? And don't get me started on the final bosses that take almost 8 minutes to complete, and if you mess up at any point in time, you have to restart all over again, and you're probably gonna have to die due to some BS that the game throws your way in order to understand what you even have to do. As much as I like the game, doing Trip's boss battle for over an hour and a half and rage quitting and almost like breaking my controller, it was not fun. And this is a common complaint that a lot of people had with the game. So we had to take an aggregate of data, which is why we look at review scores, which is why we look at things like the public perception of the game. Maybe it's not everything, but if a lot of people are saying the same thing, when there's smoke, there's fire. When you play the boss fights in Super Mario Wonder, while a lot of people have complained that there isn't enough variety with like some of the Koopas that you fight, again, it's like a reskin of a character. I don't really care. I actually prefer to fight Bowser Jr. People have also kind of complained about the boss battles being kind of bland in Super Mario Wonder, but I would take a quick, more bland boss fight, which I do think they are creative enough. Like if you look at this swimming level right here, I thought that was pretty cool. I would take this over fighting the Fang boss fight, or even just like sitting around in the sand level waiting to attack Eggman 10 times out of 10 every single day of the week. I'm playing these games for the levels and the platforming, not necessarily how good the bosses are designed. If I'm playing a video game like Sonic or Mario, I'm just trying to have fun. I'm not trying to throw my controller through the damn computer screen. I would constitute the boss fights being the second major reason why this game did not succeed as well as Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and why the discourse around this game even exists in the first place. Here's another reason why Sonic Superstars might not be viewed as successful, is that the multiplayer is way worse in this game than Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Forget all the functionality aside. In terms of like the way the game actually plays, yeah, it's a little bit sloppy, but honestly, I'm just happy that we even have the option to do the multiplayer. It's pretty difficult to actually make a game like Sonic where you're supposed to go so fast, have players like stay on the same screen. I think they do their best with this, and I think it is actually really fun. But here's the real problem. The fact that you cannot play multiplayer online with your friends for co-op is insane to me. Like Super Mario Wonder actually has online multiplayer co-op. Like I don't understand how a game in 2023 does not have like the most basic online capabilities. And it's very creative at that for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Like you can see random people running around levels and stuff like that. Or if you want to do an actual private match with your friends, you can do that. Like why is this not in Sonic Superstars? Can someone explain this to me? I don't know. I'm not a game developer. I don't know how this works. And it's not even like perfect in Super Mario Wonder. You're like a ghost when you play online. I don't understand. Even Nintendo, like why are there some of these weird restrictions on some of these games? I don't know. But the fact you can't do online multiplayer in Sonic Superstars is crazy to me, and definitely holds the game back with respect to that. So here's another reason why Sonic Superstars lost to Super Mario Wonder. So the big selling point of Sonic Superstars that was advertised in the trailer was these Emerald power-ups. For the most part, a lot of these are, largely forgettable. It's not to say that some of them aren't forgettable in Super Mario Wonder. Like the most useful out of all these would probably be this one right here, which will kind of allows you to explore horizontally and vertical in the air however you want to, and it's actually really fun to use. Again, you look at this level right here where the vision's blocked off. That's like another issue with the game. But most of the emeralds are for the most part kind of forgettable. You can use these emerald power-ups sometimes in a fun way, but it's mainly only like 2 of them. Meanwhile, the badges in Super Mario Wonder completely reinvent how you play the game. Now, a lot of people were concerned that all the playable characters in the game were essentially reskins of each other, but all that is put to rest with the badge system. It's like, oh, you want to have the ability to jump a little bit further? Here is the floating badge. In addition to that, you can actually get infinite wall kicks, which is pretty cool. Like, look at this, bro. Have you ever wanted the grapple hook from Ocarina of Time in Super Mario? Well, guess what? Boom. They've essentially replaced the unique identity of the characters and said, hey, you make the controls for whichever character you want to play. And I think that's really cool. Like, look at this. Boom. This is essentially the same thing as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles having their individual unique abilities, but with more variety and more different different ways to play the level, instead of very short power-ups that are not always useful. Because don't forget, if you have your little power-up that you're using and you're doing these levels, if you get hit by an enemy, oh, sorry, you lost it. Better luck next time. I don't think some of these issues you could really fault to Polish. It seems to be conscious game design choice. So the final major criticism I think people have, and the thing that holds this game back, is people say that this is too generic of a classic Sonic game. It's not as unique as Mario Wonder, it doesn't have as much experimentation, and it's not as creative. You know, a lot of reviewers and a lot of players would be like, okay, you know, it's just like another classic Sonic game. It's basically the same thing. While this, actually, I don't think this is true. I think there's a lot of creative and unique ideas in this game. To the average person, though, to the casual, to the reviewer, to even some Sonic veterans, the game doesn't do enough, and quickly you'll realize that when you play Mario Wonder, how much more creative of a game that is. When you're playing Mario Wonder, it really does feel like one of the most creative platformers ever. Like, they took the Mario formula, which is pretty tried and true, and like, how do you make a 2D game innovative, right? Like, a 2D game is just like a 2D game. But every single level just seems to have these crazy gimmicks, and just like, no two levels in this game are the same. And then when you consider the Wonder Flower factor, even the same level isn't the same. There's so many unique, creative, and different ideas experimented with this game. So there's probably more things that I left out, but this is pretty much an unscripted review and stuff like that. Here's the deal. Sonic Superstars did lose to Super Mario Wonder. It's not going to outsell it, obviously. That was never really in question. It didn't out-review it. And not only did it not out-review it, because, hey, listen, who cares about game journalists? Most people think that Super Mario Wonder is a better game. I think that Super Mario Wonder is a better game than Sonic Superstars. But that does not mean that Sonic Superstars is a failure, because at its best, Sonic Superstars is a really fun game, and I truly enjoyed it, and I'm really appreciative that we got this game not too far after Sonic Frontiers, and I had fun with the game, most importantly. At the end of the day, your opinion on video games should be yours and yours only. It should not be influenced by outside factors, and if you enjoy something, you should enjoy it. It's been such a long journey as Sonic fans. We've taken so many L's, but over the last couple years, it's been really a pleasure to cover the last couple games, because we don't know what the future holds. You know, we started this channel doing Sonic Frontiers, leaks, and stuff like that, and now it's over. We don't know what's next for the Sonic franchise, but one thing I can definitely assure you is that the future of the franchise is bright, and that's why discussions like this are necessary, because we want the next Sonic game to improve. It's been a wild ride, but I'm really excited to see what the franchise has cooking up next, because I know that it's going to be better and better than the last games before it. A 7.5 out of 10 score with a 9 out of 10 user score is not a failure for Sonic Superstars. It's going to perform well commercially, it's going to be successful, and it is successful. We shouldn't gaslight ourselves into thinking that a 7.5 out of 10 is a bad score. A bad score would be like a 4 out of 10, a 3 out of 10, at worst, a 5 out of 10. But at the same time, as a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, we should demand better and always try to improve with each game. Clearly, something went wrong because it wasn't universally acclaimed. Not that any game ever truly could be perfect, but the general consensus of the game is mixed, and that in and alone of itself should allow us to try and analyze what went wrong. And there's nothing wrong with comparing or trying to stack up against your peers. That is the #1 goal of business, and we shouldn't handicap Sonic and be like, oh, well, you know what, he'll never be as good as Mario. No, we should want it to be as good as Mario. We should want it to improve as much as it possibly can. Even the director of Sonic Frontiers said as much. He said, I want Sonic to stand toe-to-toe with Mario. So this idea that we can't compare or contrast the two franchises, especially when Sonic was made to compete with Mario, is absolutely ridiculous. We should want Sonic to actually stand toe-to-toe with Mario.